It has a nice art scene, but everyone has a nice art scene. It has a good sports scene, but everyone has a good sports scene. People in the city don't really know how to talk about their city. There's an aspect of sadness, self-deprecation, but also pride, though no one really knows how to talk about it. So this city is Austin, Texas, about 20 years ago. Before some things happened in Austin to change things. As you know, they had a great music scene. It was the most important thing they had culturally. And they also had a great government setup. People were proud that it was a little different than the rest of Texas, and people who were there understood that and felt strongly about it. But young people with talent, if they wanted to make money, they went to Dallas or Houston. And if they wanted to make a lot of money, they went to New York or the Bay Area. And if they wanted to live in a prettier city or a hipper city just down the road, they went to San Antonio, which is sort of the Calgary of Texas, if you think about Austin. And about this time, 2000, the year 2000, like everywhere else, all of the chain stores were moving into Austin. And the guy went on a radio station during a pledge drive, and he talked about how angry he was at all of these chain stores moving in, and how it was threatening something that he valued in the city. And he talked about, his example was, the guy who makes the hubcap Jesuses is threatened by globalization. And there was something about what he was saying that people glommed onto, and he said, we have to keep Austin weird. This is what we have to do. We have to keep this place weird. Keep Austin weird. And people responded to what he said a little bit, and so he went out, and he's a bit of an entrepreneur and a librarian, and he made some crappy bumper stickers and some t-shirts with Keep Austin Weird on them. And this sort of bubbled up for 2 years in Austin, until about 2002, when the Independent Business Association adopted it as their slogan, Keep Austin Weird. And they really did take this, okay, we have Walmart, we know they're there, but we have to protect this thing that makes us different in a world that is becoming more and more the same. And then it really, really started to take off, and really bravely, the city council adopted it as their slogan toward the end of the decade. And the music scene there, the South by Southwest Festival, which was always there, always successful, really changed into something else. And now, as you know, it's the #1 conference in the world for culture. So something that was already in their DNA as a city was turned up to 10 from maybe it was at 2 or 3. They didn't make anything up. But Austin was in a situation like Edmonton is now, and a lot of situations are similar in the city world. And what most cities do is they call in someone from London or LA or New York, where smart people live, and they say, we're having marketing trouble. Brand us, please. And so they use a process that was initiated after the Second World War by Procter & Gamble, with, maybe you've been a part of this, with the brand keys and the sticky notes and the brand pyramid and a cloud of nouns. So today, if we were to do that in Edmonton, we might end up with something like Edmonton, sustainably diverse, or diversely sustainable. Because there are universal goods, like sustainable and innovative, and you could name a million of them. Diverse, sustainable, innovative are my 3 favorites for sure, but there are lots of others. It's a game-changing time. Calgary did this a couple of years ago because they were sick of the cowboy thing a little bit. They were worried that the head offices moving from Toronto would be a little bit upset about wearing the cowboy hats and everything, so they tried something new. They brought in someone from LA, and people from LA charged $1.4 million, and they came up with a nice logo, pretty colors, brand nouns, and they said, innovative energy. Calgary. Innovative energy. Go. And it was on the air. I saw it for a little while. When you'd land in Calgary, you'd see Calgary, innovative energy. And I guess this would make people feel all right about Calgary if they weren't comfortable about cowboy hats. Mayor Nenshi came in right about this time and decided he didn't like it. It wasn't enough of an invitation, but they'd already spent all that money and the colors were pretty and the website was already done, so they just changed it to be part of the energy. Calgary, be part of the energy. And now the economic development body in Calgary is leading this. And if you go and you enter be part of the energy, Calgary, into Google, you'll understand what they've done. Other cities have done it. Regina came up with infinite horizons because it's flat and you can do stuff there, I guess. Baltimore did it in the year 2000, the same time that Red Wassenich, this librarian in Austin, came up with Keep Austin Weird. They hired Faith Popcorn, who was a trend watcher, to come in and for a few $100,000 to come up with what makes Baltimore different. Why Baltimore when we could choose anywhere? And she came up with this line that was a lot like diversely sustainable. there isn't a better place for education, government, starting a business in the world today. And they had to, out of that, create some media, and everyone forgot it after two years or so. There wasn't really a story to it, and that's why I like Keep Austin Weird. If you think about, all of you are in the story business, if you think about a status quo, we have this place, we're proud of its weirdness, and all of a sudden it's threatened. And so the inciting incident, in a sense, is this librarian who says, "Come on, people, we have to keep Austin weird." And then the story starts. And he invites you along, and there are highs and lows, and of course Walmart does move in. What do you do about that? When Whole Foods gets so big it feels like a chain, and it's from Austin, what do we do about that? And when there isn't enough money for the arts, what do we do about that? What do we do about this as a government when we can't get the federal money we want? And the civic government, the municipal government isn't getting what it needs from the state. What do we do about that? Well, what the great thing about it was, the people in Austin, love it or hate it, grabbed onto it and made it part of that thing they were proud of. Even people, they started a website, Keep Austin Normal too, of course, because not everyone feels they're part of that story. But even engaging with the thing, they're part of the story. And there's a kind of beauty in this. And when my little company, Story Engine, thought about Edmonton, we wanted to take a bit of a story approach rather than the Procter & Gamble approach. The city had hired me very kindly in 2008, I think it was, to write the city vision for 2040. And so I went around to all of these community halls across the city and listened to people arguing their way into what Edmonton ought to be in 2040. And what I noticed they were doing, they would sit around in a group like this, usually in tables, but sometimes like this, and they would talk about, this is what makes us different, this is why we're not like those guys, this is why I came here for 3 months and I'm still here, Toronto's that, we're this, we're like that city but in this way. My family came here and we accomplished this, and I'm proud of this organization, I'm proud of that organization. That's such an Edmonton thing. That's such an Edmonton company. The Fringe is so Edmonton. And they were so excited and leaning forward in their chairs, and then the facilitator would stop them and say, shh, 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 we're in 2040. You're doing something different here. We're in 2040, close your eyes. So you end up with diversity sustainable and lots of LRTs rushing through and a new way to think about energy. And this is everything we all want, and we can surely get there. Culture was a big part of it too. But if you work in the city government or you're in theater, how do you actually apply that to the decisions you make? And how can you apply it to your sense of ambition and your sense of mission as Edmontonians or as artists? And so I thought a story approach would be better, because that's what those people were doing. They were doing kind of story work. This is what Edmonton ought to be and what it is, and it's been like this for 8,000 years. And here's the journey we're on now. We really messed up during the Klein years, or when Jan Reimer did this, that really fucked everything up. And they were just really going through this idea of, here's the story, the mission from First Nations to today, and how do we get into tomorrow. And I took way more notes during that part, even though I couldn't use any of it, than the actual LRT Diversity Sustainable River Valley stuff, which is a little bit of table stakes, because every city has a water feature, and every city today, thanks to Richard Florida, says it has a great art scene. We can't just say that stuff. We actually have to do something. So we have this data I'd prepared, and we pitched the city on building kind of a story. If the city was interested in its reputation or branding, maybe if it had a foundational story, it would be easier to decide what to do. We wouldn't have to waste $1.4 million for an advertising agency from London to come in and tell us what we are. If we were to figure it out for ourselves, something we already know, sort of like Austin did, maybe it would help us in some way. So we just interviewed people. We interviewed 89 people. And they were from the arts, and they were from the business community, and they were First Nations people, and they were blue-collar people, and white-collar people, and academics. Sometimes in a group, and sometimes just in one-on-one over lunch. And what we found in the end, you could make a link between all of the things they were most proud of, and all of their